Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. On behalf of President Director RRI, Mr. Rohanuddin, I would like to convey the welcome speech. First of all, let us thank God the Almighty that we have an opportunity to meet in diplomatic forum. This is our fourth edition of Diplomatic Forum in 2016. Diplomatic Forum is a talk show that discusses international issues by involving diplomats and various stakeholders. In this Diplomatic Forum, we take the term ASEAN's 50th anniversary towards the solution to the South China Sea issue. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, ASEAN will celebrate its 50th anniversary next year. Last September, going to discuss the solution to the South China Sea issue. In this regard, we would like to thank our honorable speakers, Director General for Asian Cooperation, Indonesian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Mr. Jose Antonio Morato Tavares, Ambassador of Vietnam to Indonesia, His Excellency Wang Antuan, and Observer on International Law, Professor Hikmah Anto Juwana. Thank you for your coming. Once again, thank you, and we welcome you all to the Diplomatic Forum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Bapak Sulamin Yusuf, for the warm welcome and remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, today the Diplomatic Forum will be hosted by the senior journalist Kabul Budiono and will discuss matters regarding ASEAN's 50th anniversary towards the solution to the South China Sea issue. This talk show is a live broadcast on 91.2 FM Pro 1 RRI Jakarta and streaming english.rriworldservice.com and RRI Play mobile application Pro 1 RRI Jakarta. You can also watch the talk show on YouTube UI Indonesia. We also invite your participation to join our dialogue by presenting your question directly to our speakers. And for the sake of convenience, we need to ask you to set your cell phones to the silent mode. And now I would like to invite Bapak Kabul Budiono, the host of today's Diplomatic Forum, to start our program, Diplomatic Forum.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Ana. Selamat siang, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, first of all, welcome to Diplomatic Forum. So we have already our distinguished guests this afternoon, but of course we have to wait until 12 o'clock for starting this forum. So we still have 6 minutes to come until we have connection with the channel 1 of the RRI Jakarta. So we're still waiting until the opening of the tune of the Diplomatic Forum. Okay, thank you.
Ibu ngomong itu tadi.
Gentlemen, we have to wait, I think, until 12 o'clock before we get connected to Pro 1 RRI Jakarta, because this will be a live broadcast. So, for the time being. Jadi we can listen to Pak
Yeah.
Prabowo first.
Yeah. Mbak Ana, what your forum this afternoon reminds us to what we have done 2 months ago, yeah?
Yes.
Also in this
Yes.
hall, yeah? Do you still remember what is the topic of the discussion on that time? If I'm not mistaken, we invite the ambassador of the Russia to come here,
Yes.
and there are 6 winners of the Wonderful Indonesia quiz.
Yes. We have all been on that program.
Yeah.
I'm on our diplomatic forum on that day.
Yeah, I got very good impression, especially from the winner of the Wonderful Indonesia quiz,
Yes.
as they expressed their expression about how happy they were coming to this beautiful country.
Yes, of course. Before they came to the diplomatic forum on that day, they had the opportunity to go to some favorite tourist destination in Indonesia. I'm speaking related to Lombok and several places. So of course they were very impressed at that time. And by the way, it was a really good program because not only that they could come to the diplomatic forum, they could also get acquaintance with people here in Jakarta, particularly from Voice of Indonesia.
Yes.
You know what? They are really faithful listeners of Voice of Indonesia.
Really?
They always send feedback to our program, and finally they joined the quiz and won it, and then they got the opportunity to come to Indonesia
Okay.
for free, and then also visiting various tourist objects in this country.
Right.
Personally, I think they are really lucky,
Yes,
but
of
we are
course.
also lucky to meet them. of course.
But until now, we have not any winner from Vietnam.
Yeah, because we haven't got any feedback
Okay.
yet from Vietnam. Hopefully next time, yeah.
Next time, yeah, we will.
Dari cuma
Very
gitu.
special. But today we are very lucky because we have special guests from Vietnam,
Yeah,
represented by the
Hari.
ambassador.
Yeah.
So we are about to talk.
Yeah, this is the first time that the representative from Vietnam coming to a diplomatic
Yes,
forum. So I
yes.
think this is a really great occasion.
We are very honored. of
It's a
course. We are
special,
very-
really special.
Okay. So, well, 45 minutes to come. Then we will start our diplomatic forum today, and the topic is quite, very interesting. Toward the solution to the South China Sea issue. It's a very hot topic. And of course, we are lucky because we have a special guest from the Minister of the Foreign Affairs, and of course the expert from the Indonesian University, and many guests. So, 30 minutes to come. Countdown.
We are counting down,
We are counting down, yes. Okay.
Yes, this is just looking at radio. This thing that happens always. We have to
Ambil skripsinya soal Laut Cina Selatan.
time comes.
Yeah, we have you and we are listening to the channel 1 of the Radio Jakarta. We are about to start.
Kelihatan ya Mbak.
Itu karena aku nggak ada background.
Tadi dari mana?
Dari kantor budi Jepang.
Kantor Jepang tuh apa sih?
Ibrek. Pakai antara Jepang.
Oh gitu, tapi bahasa Indonesia.
Nggak ada bahasa Indonesia, nggak ada Inggris.
Bahasa Inggris. Bisa bahasa Jepang? Oh, gitu.
Nggak harus.
Nggak harus ya. Berarti kita musuh ya?
Boleh.
Kenapa Jepang?
Sebenarnya.
Musuh terus.
Kayaknya sih Indonesia. Saya Indonesia di sini.
Iya gitu loh di
Cina parah
Nah
ya
itu.
ininya.
Kalau soal Jepang udah langsung.
Jepangnya juga.
Iya.
Kayak buat dosa sedikit di Indonesia.
Makanya.
Dijualnya parah-parah.
Iya sih. Kita masih aja gitu ya ngeliatnya itu yang
Kitanya
makan.
oh ya
Makan
seru.
popcorn gitu ya, nyam-nyam. Udah berantem.
Metropolitan International
Pernah lagi ke
Community
Jepang?
Service. Brought to you by Radio Republic of
Training kita.
Indonesia's
Untuk
World
urusan
Service,
kerja ya,
Voice of
ada
Indonesia,
assessment.
and 91.2 FM, Pro
Ruang
1,
hiburan.
RRI Jakarta,
Cintanya udah.
Channel of Inspiration.
Belum pernah yang mengunjungi, tapi 2 kali aku transit.
RRI World Service Voice of Indonesia and Pro 1 RRI Jakarta present Diplomatic Forum, a talk show analyzing strategic issues and global perspectives.
Okay, good afternoon, welcome to Diplomatic Forum, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Radio Republic Indonesia, especially the Voice of Indonesia Diplomatic Forum for today special. And well, okay, we have a very interesting topic, and you can listen through the channel 1 of the RRI Jakarta, and also from the Voice of Indonesia, www and the World RRI World Service.com. And we are lucky because the friends from the Voice of Indonesia also informed me that you outside the studio also can watch this forum through the channel YouTube live broadcast. So we are lucky. And okay, we are very proud today because we have already a special guest coming to our studio. Firstly is the Director General for ASEAN Cooperation and the Foreign Ministry, Excellency Jose Tavares. Welcome, Mr. Tavares. Okay, let's welcome Mr. Tavares with our applause, please. And, well, His Excellency Vietnamese Ambassador to Indonesia, His Excellency Juan An Tuan. Welcome, Excellency. Okay, so we can call Excellency Tuan. Tuan in Bahasa Indonesia means sir. Okay, excuse me, yeah. Well, I remember when we visited very beautiful resort area in Vietnam, Ha Long Bay, is it? Yeah, Ha Long Bay is very beautiful tourist resort in Vietnam. So might be the presence of the ambassador will remind us when sometime when you come to Vietnam, so don't forget to visit Ha Long Bay. Okay, so last but not least, we have also the international law expert from University of Indonesia, Professor Hikmahanto Yuwana. Welcome to this discussion. Okay, well, today's topic is about ASEAN. As we know that ASEAN is already almost 50 years old since the establishment in 1667 in Bangkok. And now ASEAN is already 50 years old. The ambassador is younger than ASEAN, I think. So, well, there are many topics, many aspects could be discussed in the discussion, but we have only just around, let's say, 80 minutes time to discuss. So let's try to focus on special topic. And as we have seen on the board, is that the topic is about the solution to the South China Sea issue. Rather sensitive topic, but interesting. But the result is how to solve that problem, not how to make the problem bigger even. So the discussion will try to know what kind of solution could be done to solve this bilateral conflict on the South China Sea. But before we come to the special topic, I want to invite Mr. Hikmahanto Yuan. ASEAN is already 50 years old, and there are many aspects to be discussed: politics, economy, social welfare, and other things. According to your observation, what kind of cooperation could be taken as priority among the ASEAN members, so the ASEAN will have such kind of significant role in the region?
Well, thank you very much, Pak Kapol. First of all, let me say this. When ASEAN was formed through a declaration in 1967 in Bangkok, at that time, if you look at the declaration, it is stated that economic cooperation will become the priority for ASEAN. However, in its history, I suppose, early days of ASEAN is more concerned of the issue of affecting countries in Southeast Asia from the influence of communism. At that time, the issue of security becomes an important. But then it evolved. As we know, communism is no longer relevant to the world. This is after 80s, in the 1980s, where the walls in Berlin was destroyed, and also in Russia, in the Soviet Union, there's this perestroika, and you have these events which say that communism is not a threat any longer. And of course, ASEAN has to adapt to this world change. And as you know, ASEAN has expanded in its membership, and now we are concentrating not only centering on security issues, but also economic issues and also social and cultural issues. What we want is within the Southeast Asian countries, there's going to be a vibrant for economy, not only for ASEAN countries but also for the world. And of course, we want to make sure that this region is safe, the security is guaranteed, and those many things that we want to see. So in that sense, ASEAN has evolved from a mere declaration. Now we have the ASEAN Charter, which all members have ratified.
Okay.
So ASEAN now becomes an international organization.
Okay, so ASEAN's now become international organization. Do you think it is still on the track as when it is established in 1967? Because this is a regional organization and now moved to the track of international. Is there no any problem at all?
Right. Well, when I said international organization, please do not misperceive as if it is similar to the United Nations. Of course, ASEAN now has its legal status as an international organization, meaning that it has its own life, you know, and not only depending on its members. That's the first issue. The second issue is, of course, this have been conceived by the founders of ASEAN, because if it is only a mere declaration, the question is whether we need to have a secretariat, whether they have this legal capacity to act on behalf of ASEAN rather than of every state. So this is, from my perspective, from my observation, this has been conceived by the founder of ASEAN. Now, of course, the problem or the challenges that we are facing is how can we make ASEAN not only relevant in the elites of each member, but also relevant to the people of ASEAN. And this is a big challenge. We want to have more interactions between, say, Indonesian society, Indonesian people with the Vietnamese, and also with the Thais, with Malaysia. And we feel that here we are, ASEAN.
Okay, so the question is about relevance. Is now the ASEAN also relevant to the people of the region? And what is the challenge? And what is the problem if there is not relevance?
Well, of course, you know, sometimes when we say that how to make ASEAN more relevant to the people, the issue is not on security. The issue is not on, you know, the big talks and everything. But the issue is more whether within ASEAN we can get better life, welfare. So we have to translate this into economic cooperation. As the founder of ASEAN, conceive, how to make ASEAN more secure if the economy within ASEAN is in chaotic manner. So we need to do this. And also socially, of course, this is a very important thing that the people within ASEAN needs to have, also culturally. So this is the area where I think the elites of ASEAN can do more so that people will feel that ASEAN is very relevant to us.
Yes, thank you, Professor Hikmahanto Yuwana. So, one key point is that the elite, the leaders of the member of the ASEAN must think how to make it relevant to the people. So there are two elites here in our room. So, the Excellency, the Ambassador, and the Excellency, Director General. I'd like to ask the Excellency of the Ambassador, Huang Antoine, to respond on Mr. Hikmahanto Yuwanto comment, please. The role of the leaders to make ASEAN more relevant, especially in the matter of the social welfare or economic life.
From my own perspective, I see that in the early stages of ASEAN, in the early stages of development, the roles of ASEAN leaders, the role of ASEAN founders is very important. They work together, they work very closely to make ASEAN countries closely integrated. And then when we have ASEAN as what we have seen now, the ASEAN community, so now it is a role of the ASEAN people. So ASEAN to us is meaningless if it does not serve the interests of people. So we are not only thinking of security as a big thing for all the ASEAN countries, though it is very important. We need also to think of the human security. That is also important for ASEAN. So what we see is the role of human security for the ASEAN people. One is that we need to have ASEAN vibrant economically. It creates jobs for the ASEAN people, particularly for the young generations, the future of ASEAN. The second thing is that people need to feel secure in the ASEAN community. So if we don't have such kind of community that has been created by our leaders, ASEAN does not see as relevant to the ASEAN people.
Okay, thank you, Your Excellency. And now, His Excellency Jose Tavares, your response, please. The role of Indonesia, especially.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. First of all, I would like to say that, look, ASEAN, since the beginning, we have faced various political problems, conflicts, confrontations, adversity, disputes between countries in the border, you name it. And then, of course, ASEAN was established in 1967, as already been mentioned, and it is actually one of the aspects that ASEAN has contributed to the region enormously, and it widely recognized, is that it has created a region that is peace and stable for the last 50 years. And this gives a conducive environment for economic development to thrive. Without stability, without peace and stability, of course, you cannot thrive, because the resources that are limited are being absorbed into destructive activities. And now we have evolved, ASEAN has evolved into economic community as well as socio-cultural. You know that now ASEAN has become the 7th largest economy in the world with nearly 3 trillion US dollars. The inter-trade is about 25% of the entire trade. People are looking at ASEAN as a region that they can invest here, they can do business here, and this is good for what is relevant to the people. And once again, actually, we have a market of 620 million people. And this is an opportunity for Indonesia and for each member states to utilize this big market optimally. At the same time, we have free trade areas with Japan, with Korea, with India, with China, with Australia and New Zealand. So you have these economic opportunities beyond ASEAN, and even you can go to the global level. Actually, what we should do is do our homework, that we can complement each other and we can be selling our products both in ASEAN markets and beyond. So one thing is that, Pak, actually Indonesia and the Minister of Foreign Affairs in this case, Ibu Menlu Retno Marsudi, has come up with a policy that we must really translate ASEAN for the interest of the people. Now, that's what we are doing. We are now in the process of extracting the blueprints of ASEAN so that we will disseminate it, targeted dissemination to the segment of the community so that they can utilize opportunities in ASEAN member states.
Okay, so listeners, you are in Indonesia, and also especially the listener of the Voice of Indonesia in any foreign countries, might be in Vietnam and also European and so. So we just listened to three research persons: Director General of ASEAN Cooperation, His Excellency Jose Tavares, and then Vietnamese Ambassador, His Excellency Juan Antoine, and of course, our expert from Indonesian University, Professor Hikmahanto Yuwana. And you are listeners, Jakarta, on wherever you are, you can also send your comment, might be through the internet, and especially for audience here in the hall of the Yusuf Ronodipuro. So, for the first segment, please, if you have any comment on the development of the ASEAN, especially on the security matters of the economic, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. Before we continue with the next segment, especially about the solution to the South China Sea issue. Is there any? Yes, okay. Bob, maybe you have any comment for the matter of the security and the economics perspective? Yeah, Bob Iskandar is one of our best friend.
Thank you.
Coming to the Diplomatic Forum, he is the chairman of the ASEAN Journalists Association. Okay, Bob Iskandar, please. Okay, it's okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Kabul. I think I am very interested to the topic there. ASEAN 50 anniversary towards the solution to the South China Sea issue. Ini tahun depan baru 50 tahun kan?
Yes.
Tahun ini
49
tahun. I would like to ask number one to Professor Juwana. I'm wondering whether this issue so far, I think, getting hotter, not long time. I think I would say maybe 20 years or 25 years. My question, Professor, is that what is the main reasons or that this solution or the South China issue is on and never come to
an end,
finalization, something like that? Is there, you know, as far as I'm concerned, Secretariat ASEAN is already set up here, and then every country Mitra ASEAN, partnership ASEAN also having like China with ASEAN, India with ASEAN, Korea, and so on and so on. So is there any reasons or analyze in what certain reason that this issue is still on and on, Professor? I'd like to know about that.
This is the
Number
question,
two,
especially for the
Professor.
South China Sea. issue.
And then, can I come up with 3 questions to the other speakers?
Yes, but I would like to ask you for focusing the question, especially for the first segment, is about the economic matters and the security matters and the development of the social welfare.
What I mean is, I am more stressing on the
security matters,
not economical, but the problem, the border, and all these things.
I see. Okay.
Something like
yes.
that. That is,
okay.
I focus on that particular matters.
Okay.
And for Ambassador Vietnam, I think what you have mentioned is good. What I want to know from you, Excellency, that among the ASEAN countries facing this China, for instance, what is your main reasons that ASEAN seems to be not, what do you call it, in one power in facing China. Therefore, China trying to approach many ASEAN countries in such a way. So this is, I would like to know. Professor or Dr. Jose, ASEAN, as you have mentioned before, I noted that is becoming more and more popular. I noted that you have mentioned that this ASEAN is one like a beautiful baby, that everybody come to ASEAN, try to make cooperation, whatever, right? Yes. So, in this part of the world, I mean, the world blocks between America and China.
Your microphone, please.
And ASEAN. What is your, what do you call it? What is your opinion on that particular? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Applause for Mr. Iskandar as the first audience who raised a question. 3 questions altogether for 3, let's say, or spokesperson. Okay, so I think it will take quite long time, but let's start with Professor Hikmahanto Yuwana about the first question. Why the conflict, especially for the South China Sea issue, could not be resolved from time to time? Yes, please.
Well, this is a very difficult question. But of course, to answer this question, we need to understand what are the issues. To me, there are 3 issues, 3 important issues with regard to the South China Sea. The first one is the issue of who owns what within the islands, the rocks in the South China Sea, the issue of sovereignty. And of course, there is a dispute between China on the one hand, and on the other hand, there's this Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, which is a member of ASEAN. That is the first issue. Now, the second issue is the issue of freedom of navigation. Countries see the South China Sea is very important for the freedom of navigation, because there's going to be a lot of ships going in and going out through the South China Sea from the United States, from the Australia, from Japan, a lot of countries. So in this sense, the South China Sea is not only a conflict between states, as I mentioned before, China and Vietnam and Malaysia, but also the United States is involved, Australia, Japan, because they want to make sure that there's going to be a freedom of navigation there. And the last issue, this is where Indonesia, quote unquote, have an issue with China, because China based themselves claiming that certain islands, certain rocks are the Chinese, based on what they say the 9-dash line. Now, within that 9-dash line of the Natuna Island, we have the EEZ, the Economic Exclusive Zone. The Chinese does not recognize Indonesia's EEZ, while we do not recognize the 9-dash line. So here there is this conflict. from our perspective, when there's a fishing ships coming to our EEZ, then we say that this is illegal fishing. But from the Chinese perspective, they said that, look, they have the right to go there because this is ours, right? So these are the three main issues that at hand. How are we going to solve this? This is not easy, because for China, South China Sea is very important. It has a lot of resources, either fishery or gas. You know, they have a lot of resources, and so, and also the attitude from the people is of course that they will not back 1 inch, even 1 inch of their claim of sovereignty. But the same goes to Philippines, to Malaysia, to Vietnam and other countries.
Okay, so Bob, it is not very easy, or it is not easy to solve that problem. So that's why from time to time, from years to years, the problem is still there. Okay, so listeners and ladies and gentlemen, we still have time to continue the discussion. But of course, before we listen to the answer from the Director General and the Ambassador, so let's have a break.
This diplomatic forum is brought to you by RRI World Service, Voice of Indonesia, and Pro 1 RRI Jakarta.
Okay, this is our second segment. Let's have applause for the second segment of the Diplomatic Forum for this afternoon. Okay, thank you. So there are 3 questions for 3 persons. And I think His Excellency Director General from the Foreign Ministry already have the answer for this. Okay, please.
Can I react to the statement
yes,
by
please. Okay.
Professor Hikmahanto? Actually, you see, the problem of the South China Sea, on your topic there is the solution, the resolution of territorial disputes and maritime delimitation can only be resolved through bilateral negotiations. Bilateral negotiation, this is the ideal one. The process of a resolution, solution, or final solution, right? And the delimitation of maritime boundaries. One is bilateral negotiation between countries. The second is going to a relevant international tribunal. A relevant international tribunal is another channel to resolve territorial disputes or maritime delimitation. The rest is not to resolve. ASEAN cannot resolve territorial disputes of maritime boundaries. Not even the United Nations. United Nations General Assembly, if come up with a resolution on the South China Sea, is not going to resolve the overlapping claims, because there are overlapping claims between countries in the South China Sea. So if you're talking about a resolution, then these 2 channels that must be observed. ASEAN will provide a conducive environment, enabling environment for negotiation to resolve the territorial disputes to start. Not ASEAN cannot resolve the territorial dispute and maritime delimitation. It's like you're asking ASEAN, can ASEAN resolve the boundaries issues between Indonesia and Timor-Leste? No, it's not. Cannot. It can only be done by the 2 countries bilaterally or going to an international court. Likewise, we have done negotiations previously with Malaysia, for example. Simpadan Legitan cannot be done through ASEAN. So that's my point. And the second is that on Indonesia is economic exclusive zone in Natuna. It is just based on international law and UNCLOS. If there are overlapping of boundaries, we will negotiate on the basis of international law and UNCLOS. And we don't see this as we overlapping with China in this case. No. We will negotiate our borders with countries on the basis of international law and UNCLOS. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Your Excellency Jose Tavares, Director General for ASEAN Cooperation at the Foreign Ministry. So, one of the most important and interesting point is that ASEAN itself cannot resolve that kind of problem. Is that?
Not even UN can resolve it.
Not even UN.
Yeah, if you go to United Nations Security Council, what can the UN come up with a resolution to resolve the overlapping claims in the South China Sea? No,
Okay,
it's
so
not
it
possible.
needs the role of the international tribune, as you said. Okay, so the Excellency, the Ambassador of Vietnam, Hoang An Tuan, Vietnam and China has also problems in that area. Do you have an experience how to discuss, how to try to solve? So could you explain there is and how could it be?
Well, first of all, we see the disputes in the South China Sea. There are three types of disputes.
Three types of dispute. Okay.
Yeah. One is that the bilateral disputes between China on the one hand and individual ASEAN claimants on the other. For example, you have mentioned the dispute that China has claimed it had with Indonesia in Indonesia's EEZ. We have bilateral disputes with China over the paracels, which China took over from Vietnam in 1974.
Okay.
So this bilateral dispute can only be solved bilaterally between China and Vietnam, because it does not have any involvement from the other ASEAN claimants or ASEAN countries. So that is the first type of the dispute in the South China Sea.
Okay.
The second type we see is the dispute, the territorial disputes between China on the one hand and ASEAN claimants on the other. In the regions, we see several ASEAN claimants: Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and now we have a newcomer as Indonesia, because China has included Indonesia in the list of the.
We are not a newcomer.
China, even if you don't want to, but China has included you. That is the issue, not your issues, but China has
very
included,
interesting.
even though you don't want to have that or not, but that is a fact. And a third type of dispute, we see that there are many countries inside and outside the region.
Okay.
They have, they are, we call stakeholders in the South China Sea. They are interested in issues like freedom of navigation, freedom of flight. So they want to see peace and stability in the region, because that is, in the final analysis, in the interest of not only China, ASEAN countries, and their own interests as well. So if we look at the situation in the South China Sea, we have to look the three types of dispute, and what issue or what type of dispute are we talking to, and then we need to concentrate on the solution, on the settlement of each type of the dispute.
Okay, so we remind the last case between China and the Philippines, and this issue between China and the Philippines also discussed within the ASEAN summit in Phnom Penh. Mr. Hikmahanto Juwana, could you, let's say, try to look the new case in the other perspective of how to solve the problem? Because we remember within the ASEAN summit, so among the ASEAN members themselves, similarly there is no let's say same idea. So how do you think about this?
All right then. First of all, let me make this clear. One, when the Philippines initiate a case against China before the Permanent Court of Arbitration (PCA) in Den Haag, it was not an issue of sovereignty, but it was the issue of the question. The big question was whether 9-dash line is recognized under the UNCLOS.
Okay.
Because under UNCLOS, which China is a party, a concept of similar to 9-dash line is unknown. But according to China, they have the right to claim areas based on this 9-dash line. So the Philippines went to the PCA. But of course, we all know the Chinese government does not recognize the PCA, and the Chinese government has stated that it will not bound by the decision of the PCA. The result of the PCA was that the claim from China of the 9-dash line is not recognized under the UNCLOS. So it is invalid, which is good for many countries, including Indonesia. Because when just now Ambassador said that Indonesia is put in by China in dispute, actually before and up until now we said that we don't have any dispute with China. Why? Because we do not recognize the 9-dash line. But also the same was said by the Chinese government. We don't have dispute with Indonesia because we do not recognize Indonesia's economic exclusive zone. Yes, the Chinese government recognized the sovereignty of the island of Natuna, which we say we don't have any problem. But with respect to the EEZ, the Chinese government does not recognize. So, the decision is in favor of the ASEAN, most of the ASEAN countries. But the problem is here. Within the ASEAN, as you mentioned, there are different perspectives. Because, for example, a country like Cambodia, they said that this kind of issue should not be settled through the PCA, through the legal process, but it has to be negotiated by countries that have these conflicting issues. So meaning that China and Philippines should sit down rather than Philippines went to the PCA. But you have to remember also, the Philippine government, when it was initiating the issue to the PCA, it was under a different president than today. The previous president was saying that we have to go to the PCA so that we will have a clear decision on whether 9-dash line is recognized or not. But the current president, because probably he is now very close to the Chinese government, said that okay, we can discuss this issue in a much more discreet manner. So the problem now, when ASEAN would want to make one statement, to make a statement on this issue, there's no consensus, because within ASEAN countries they have different perspectives, and this is difficult because, you know, traditionally when ASEAN is making decision, making common statement, they need to have consensus. If they don't have consensus, because say one country or two countries disagree with the statement, then there's not going to be any statement. And the problem is, of course, China plays a role within ASEAN. China can divide and rule among ASEAN members. This is what the ASEAN member countries should be aware of. If we want to be solid in our relations with the ASEAN countries, of course we need to know what is important for ASEAN.
Okay, so very interesting. Professor said that, well, even within ASEAN member countries, each has different perspective on the problems. The question is, how could ASEAN as a multilateral organization could play a significant role in solving such a problem? So, well, maybe audience here in in the auditorium could raise a question or comment on this issue?
Can I ask?
Okay, once again from Bob. Okay.
Professor, I think your explanation is very good. I really appreciate that. The only thing that I would like to know from you, professors, is what is China and the considerations on this working in one side with the ASEAN, and then also, as we have ever noted, that China also built up a cooperation with Turkey, something like that, Silk Road, something like that. I'd like to know what is on that particular matter.
Yes, Prof.
Yes.
Your comment?
Well, yeah, the Maritime Silk Road initiated by China. China would want to become the central gravity of the world, and China would also want to be connected with Indonesia and whole part of ASEAN. We see, well, from my observation as a scholar, of course, China is trying to build its hegemony. China would want to have its influence throughout, at least to this region. Now, of course, China can do that, and think that with that China will become much better, because you have to remember that there are 1.2 billion, more than 1.2 billion people in China that needs to have jobs.
Yes, of course.
They need to go somewhere, and then they need to build infrastructure so that there's going to be jobs open. But the question is whether ASEAN see this as a benefit for ASEAN, or this is not a benefit to ASEAN. This is something that I think not only for Indonesia to discuss within our government, but also we ASEAN has to discuss this issue with among ourselves, and then afterwards we can have a common position with China.
Okay, this is the answer. So maybe the other comment from the floor. Yes, a lady sitting on my left. Okay, excuse me. Yes, please inform your name and position, and then your question, please.
Thank you so much, Pak Heri. My name is Juliana. I come from LSPI Jakarta, Center for ASEAN Public Relations in London School of Public Relations, Jakarta. I'm very interesting from explanation Mr. Jose Tavares about bilateral negotiation. My short question from to Mr. Jose Tavares is bilateral negotiation is a good solution to the South China Sea dispute. Is I mentioned because the ASEAN have the ASEAN way, and my second question is ASEAN week. Is ASEAN solve the South China Sea dispute through with multilateral dialogue is a weak, not a good solution to South China Sea issue? Thank you.
Yes, London School of Public Relations has also ASEAN Studies, is it?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Please.
Thank you very much for the question. First of all, I would like to make it very clear that the perception that ASEAN or multilateral negotiations, a regional organization to resolve territorial dispute, it's never been a precedent in international affairs.
Okay.
If there is any, please tell me one.
Okay.
Just one. A precedent that a regional organization resolve the demarcation of borders or the delimitation of maritime boundaries. It never happened. So let us not, gives kind of perception that ASEAN is going to resolve the South China Sea disputes. That is not correct. So please, so that the public is very clear that what ASEAN can do is move to the process of having a code of conduct. That ASEAN can do. It is to provide an environment that is conducive for them to engage in the negotiation to resolve the disputes, or going to an international tribunal. Prof. Professor Hikmahanto said that recently the ruling, of course, the ruling is not to resolve a dispute, but is to assess the validity of the claims of the 9-dash line, and we already have it. If an international court already said it is invalid, should we engage in the kind of negotiation? That's very clear. I don't have to say that.
That's it.
And of course, multilateral organizations can resolve political disputes with regional consequences, with border consequences. That's possible. The multilateral organization, for example, in the case of Timor-Leste, can have a referendum, and it is resolved politically, the issue of Timor-Leste, with boundaries, with territorial consequences. That's correct. But if you want to go straight, that UN will resolve the territorial issues before Timor and Indonesia, is not possible. They can only resolve through political resolution. So you cannot have, like, for example, a referendum in the South China Sea issue, of course. Obviously.
Yes, of course.
So I don't know whether I answer your question, but to think that multilateral or regional organizations resolve, menuntaskan masalah sengketa teritorial, itu keliru persepsi itu. Terima kasih, Pak.
Okay, thank you, Pak Dirjen. So, well, clearly explained that as a multilateral organization, ASEAN, of course, cannot directly solve such kind of a dispute. This is the point. Okay, any other question? Yes, please. Young lady. Don't forget. Okay, sorry.
Thank you very much. I'm Ismi from Japanese news agency GG Press. To Pak Jose and Professor Juwana, I would like to ask first to Pak Jose about the current or recent development to the COC negotiation between ASEAN and China, which was expectedly as the settlement to the dispute here in South China Sea, and the latest, please correct me if I'm wrong, the latest development about the communication hotline between the official. How was it so far, the implementation? And Professor, how do you see this recent development between all the diplomats in ASEAN and China will bring to the future of the settlement and solution in the South China Sea? Thank you.
Well, this is the question. Maybe firstly for, again, Pak Dirjen.
Well, thank you very much, as the topic is about the South China Sea issue. Well, you see, first, the COC, that's the task given actually already by the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea since 2002. So inside one of the clause, it stated that we are moving, after the Declaration of the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea, we are moving to having a code of conduct in the South China Sea. Now, it has been long overdue, actually. Now, the process is been going on for quite long. Actually, ASEAN is pushing for having this code of conduct to govern the behavior of countries in the South China Sea. It is to prevent incidents from occurring, and if it does occur, any incident occur, how to manage the incident so that it does not escalate into open conflict. That's the purpose of the COC. Now, the process has been going on, and recently we hear from our colleagues from China that now we are going to, next year we are going to have discussing, hopefully finalize framework for the COC. Indonesia is ready and prepared to collaborate together with ASEAN member states and with our colleagues from China to have this COC, and if it's possible, move even forward beyond the framework. Now that's the program that we have. I have got instruction very clear from my foreign minister to move in the process. Next year, Indonesia is going to host the joint working group to discuss precisely that aspect. Now, in the meantime, we have the intermediary measures. One is hotline of communication. Hotline of communication. If there is an emergency situation occurs in the South China Sea that requires policy level intervention. Policy level intervention.
So what do you mean by policy level intervention?
Yeah, because if there is emergency, there are various relevant institutions that can handle it. If they can handle it at their level, that's fine. But if they cannot handle it and it requires a policy level intervention, then the hotline of communication will be activated. But I said this is a very infant mechanism, so we have to put meat in this. What mechanism at the national level? What relevant agencies that are involved in this mechanism at each and every member countries of ASEAN, and then we can connect with each other as well as with China. So hotline of communication. We are preparing our homework here. We have been discussed these few weeks, and we hope that ASEAN member states do so, and then we can come together and test this mechanism, which is just about a month. So it's not an established mechanism. Another one is the application of Code of Unplanned Encounter at Sea, which is this code has already been adopted by the Western Pacific Naval Symposium in 2014. So every country have to tell their navy that once they are in the South China Sea, please observe the code that they themselves have already been adopted. So these are the two measures before we are reaching to the COC.
Does that answer your question? Oh, one, okay, please.
A little bit follow up. You said expectedly next year there will be framework to the COC. It's not the COC itself. It's still the framework. So what can we expect for the COC itself?
Yeah, actually, it's a matter of political will, actually. It's not a matter of substance. Now you remember that in 2011 we even come up with I don't want to go further on that.
So it's a matter of political will.
Yeah, it's a matter of political will.
Okay, about COC, Code of Conduct. The Excellency, the Ambassador Huang Anton, could you have a comment? The Code of Conduct, not to be discussed and try to decide it, please.
Well, I think it is the two-way interaction.
Two-way interaction between whom?
Yes, between ASEAN on the one hand and China on the other. And on the ASEAN side, ASEAN seems to be ready to negotiate with China on the COC. But the thing is that China sees that there are many, there is still rooms for ASEAN, for China to work on the DOC, and we means China and ASEAN have not finished that stage yet. After that, both ASEAN and China will move to the COC. But from ASEAN perspective, you see that there are two tracks that we can do parallels. So it should be the two-way interaction. And once China is ready, we will move forward towards the COC.
Okay, so could you tell us about might be the role of the Vietnam in that case in initiating the COC? Have you any idea how to do and how not to do and so something?
I think the important thing is to make China to see that COC is also in the interest of China as well. But from now, China has not on the same par with ASEAN in seeing that way.
So how could we do if China in such kind of position?
That is a big question. That is still a big question.
Okay.
So ASEAN have been trying diplomatically, but not much has been done yet.
Okay, that's it. So, ladies and gentlemen, and the audience, wherever you are, listening to the channel 1 of the RRI Jakarta and also the Voice of Indonesia, and also watching through a special channel of YouTube. So this was our second segment of the Diplomatic Forum, and we will have, let's say, 15 minutes to come before ending our discussion. And, well, on the next 2 minutes, the channel 1 of the RRI Jakarta will finish the program, and we will continue by listening the program through the Voice of Indonesia streaming service, using, let's say, the NRI Play mobile application. And of course, we are happy because today's discussion also attended by the chairman of the RRI Supervisory Board, Bapak Mistam, welcome, Pak Mistam. And Pak Soleman is still here. And we will continue with the next segment. And of course, we invite the audience here to ask more questions to the distinguished guest, distinguished research person here. Okay, let's have a break before we continue to the third segment.
This diplomatic forum is brought to you by RRI World Service, Voice of Indonesia, and Pro 1 RRI Jakarta.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we still have one segment left, about 20 minutes from now, and we will invite the audience to raise a question, if any. Yes, of course, one. The gentleman, the young gentleman sitting near me. Okay, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you for the opportunity, Pak Kabul. Distinguished guests, Excellencies. My name is Fathan Sembiring. I graduated from Peking University for learning Chinese language, and also UIBE for studying business. Yeah, I just got back from China, and then I think I need to speak in this really valuable forum, yeah, because Professor Juan is here. After listening through all the previous explanations, and I tried to browse something related to the South China issue, because last time when the tribunal result came up, I was there. I was still in Beijing. Yeah,
I see. Okay.
And then honestly, it's all a different context, sir, that they are talking inside China, and what was actually going on from the especially outside of the media outside China, because one of which they just felt that the region on the 9-dash line just belonged to them, as in it's a traditional water from them. But then in my mind I said that so the entire world is actually theirs, because they've been everywhere since long time ago. Yeah, but then my question is to Mr. Professor Juana,
okay.
How accurate actually for the diplomats or some observers, because I studied business, and then this is not my expertise anyway. So how accurate actually for the people who said that South China Sea is actually the or will be the buffer zone for China, let's say for the ASEAN countries or ASEAN economics, because for example they've been doing it since Tibet, since Xinjiang, and then since Inner Mongolia, and since North Korea, for example. I would like to hear what are you how accurate actually for those people who have said that. And then I mean, because fundamentally in my personal opinion, yeah, let's say code of conduct, but then if we know, like, actually Chinese, they actually have their own different world, and then they have those as a really old nation. They have like really entire state of mind that it's really not easy to understand them. So
are you pessimist on that?
No, not pessimist, but I'm trying to suggest that even when I was still there, and then the tribunal result came up, it was just totally different, Okay. Thank you. That's just one question for Mr.
So you address your question for Mr. Hikmah Handoyo Yuan.
For Professor. Yeah.
Professor. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Prof. There is a question from the postgraduate student from Beijing.
Right. Thank you very much for the question. I don't know whether the South China Sea is the buffer for China, but what I know for sure is, as I mentioned before, one, there are a lot of resources, ample resources in the South China Sea. And you have to think about the 1.8 billion people in China. They need these resources, fisheries, also the gas, probably oil. I mean, if you go to the South China Sea, there's no place for a human being to be there. I mean, now the Chinese government is making a runaway in a certain island in the South China Sea, but it is not a place where people have to live there, but it is more because of these rocks becomes a limit for, say, the EEZ, for the various things in the South China Sea. So this is what is important for, I think, for China. Secondly, freedom of navigation. Whether China, if it is in the possession of China, will allow freedom of navigation, or they will make some obstacles, you know, toward the freedom of navigation. This is what worries many countries. So, in that sense, China, we are not so sure, you know, what is behind the Chinese claim over the South China Sea. But also, thirdly, this is for the people in China. Of course, you know, like people in Vietnam, in Indonesia, if there's conflict between states on certain boundaries, we will say that we will not back down from even 1 inch, you know, of our sovereignty or sovereign rights. So this is the tone that you have when you were in China. It is understandable, but the question is how to solve this issue. But of course, you know, today's theme is towards the solution, right?
Okay, that's right. We try to find the solution.
Find the solution. Now, the question is what kind of solution? Because there are a lot of solutions.
Okay.
One, the solution of who owns what in the South China Sea. For that, probably it will take years and years to solve. For example, between China and Japan, Japan and Russia, there's this territorial dispute. And countries agree that they will not settle this issue right away. But if they want to settle this issue right away, they can go to the International Court of Justice. Like when we have an issue with Malaysia, Sipadan and Ligitan. But of course, we will say we regret that we go to the ICJ, because now we cannot claim Sipadan Ligitan as part of Indonesia, right? So it is up to the countries who have territorial dispute to solve that. That's one. That's why Dirjan stated that, you know, there's no instances whereby a territorial dispute is settled through an international organization. It has to be, you know, between the countries that have dispute. However, if we said the solution is to make sure that the region will not escalate into hot war, yes, I think we can do that. We can achieve that. Pak Dirjan has mentioned the COC. The COC is to prevent escalation within the region. I think that is more feasible. I think this is something that ASEAN and China should pursue. And as Pak Dirjan mentioned, Indonesia is more than willing to become the mediator so that we have the COC in place. Because now we have been talking. There's no draft. The document is not there. But of course, as Pak Dirjan mentioned, even when we are only discussing, this is also a settlement, even though this is a temporary settlement. So what we want to see is within this region, the relation between China and ASEAN member countries there's not going to be a tense relations, and this is something that we need to achieve in short term.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comment or question from the floor, maybe from the students, from LSPR, maybe, or from the other students? Okay. So one thing said, Indonesia has a strong will, at least to mediate how to the COC will be established, even the timeline is not very clear as is told. So could you explain, Pak Dirjen, what step Indonesia has already taken to mediate?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the solution, of course, as we already been mentioned it, we can look at another possible way to have kind of confidence building measure, a concrete one. Say, one thing to explore is that joint cooperation, joint exploration, joint exploitation. That is win-win situation for all, while they continue negotiation bilaterally. I have to mention that our maritime delimitation between Vietnam and Indonesia, it's not a dispute. It's just a normal maritime delimitation our continental shelf between Vietnam and Indonesia. It takes more than 30 years. It's not a dispute. It's just a normal negotiation to determine the maritime delimitation.
30 years?
Yeah, more than that.
More than 30
So
years.
just a few years back, after 30 years, more than 30 years, we can resolve this maritime delimitation, let alone there's multiple claims in the South China Sea. It's not necessarily with China. ASEAN member states, Vietnam has overlapping claims with Philippines, with Malaysia, and also vice versa, so with Brunei. So there are, even with internally ASEAN, it will take decades. I mean decades, if not hundreds of years. So one thing is to move to that kind of solution. Perhaps they should think of code of conduct. It's a win-win situation for everybody, for China, from ASEAN countries, for beyond ASEAN region, to have a situation that is peaceful, and then they can engage in activities that for win-win situation, and then they can resolve their maritime boundaries, through negotiations or through the means that we say. Before I give back the microphone, I just want to explain on the what Professor Hikmahanto just mentioned, and also colleagues here, saying that look, ASEAN is not united in certain aspects, ASEAN centrality and so on, that we have been discussing in various fora. So what happens that people and the media continue to focus on the joint communique of the ASEAN ministerial meeting that was failed to issue in 2012. 2012 because of the South China Sea issue. But if you look at afterwards, several meetings, the recent one, which is the ASEAN ministerial meeting joint communique issued in Laos 2016, it is very strong statement, deeply concerned about the reclamation and non-militarization, expeditious finalization of the COC. But, people tend to focus on what is selling better, which is the failure that is already in 2012. But you don't see the recent one, for example, the chairman statement by the leaders of ASEAN, the meeting. This is the leaders beyond foreign ministers. They also came up with a very strong statement. This is actually one part of the ASEAN centrality, which is creative diplomacy actually. And if you see the recent joint position of the ASEAN foreign ministers in relation to the non-aligned movement in Margarita Island in Venezuela, they came strongly, and they just take the whole entire paragraph on the South China Sea to be incorporated in the final document of the non-aligned movement. And of course there are some issues there that the statement was not incorporated, that ASEAN foreign ministers came together again with the joint letter in New York, and they sent it to the chair of non-aligned movement, expressing their reservation. This is more important than something that is already far and it's already been overtaken by so many events from the joint communique. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Dirjen. So, listeners, we have already listened to His Excellency Jose Tavares, the Director General for ASEAN Cooperation at the Foreign Ministry. And we still have time. If you have any more question or comment to these issues, so please don't hesitate to raise your hand, because it is a time to let's say, to express your idea or even your comment or any other things. Is there a meeting? Is it no more comment? Oh yeah, okay, one more. Yes, the gentleman, please.
Thank you. Hello, this is Tim Young from China Economic Daily and also from Jakarta Foreign Correspondents Club.
Thank you very much.
So I just have two comments. One is that let's leave bilateral to bilateral. Yeah, because let's don't spread hate and the chaos between each other. I think Jakarta people, especially Indonesian people, especially Jakarta people, have a very vivid experience of how spreading hate caused a riot, a rally, several days ago. So the situation between China and Indonesia, I think the general picture is we are in very good momentum. Indonesia and also with ASEAN, we see more and more young people going to China to finish its high education. And also we see so many Chinese companies come to Indonesia and also ASEAN country to help to developing the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed train, the infrastructure, and also my colleagues in London School PR just to finish the visit to China. So the general picture is in a very good momentum. And the South China Sea is never a big issue until some influencer out of this region want to make it big. So my second comment is that we should focus more on the general, what is the most key issue that we developing countries in this region must face, is that we must develop this region better and better. So we in China we have a saying that let developing to solve the problem of the journey on the development.
Okay.
So, for example, I just give you a vivid experience that during the tribunal is just finished and came out, my colleagues in Jakarta Foreign Correspondent Club said, hey, they are Western media, they said, oh, let's do some seminar on this. So I said, oh, no, it's not good time because there will be a new president in Philippines. So picture will change. But they don't listen to me, and they invited Philippine ambassador to ASEAN to the seminar, and which more stupid is they invited the United States ambassador to ASEAN. So they want to make it, okay, yeah, it's a bloody in politics, let's do the seminar. So the truth is that for JFCC, that event, we lose money. We lose money. So so people don't want to attend a seminar like this. And so we want to make more money, so we invited Tom Lembong for another event, and we might make money.
Okay. Oh, sorry. This is very interesting. Yeah, this is very interesting. And we are lucky because we have a gentleman from China, and he has already expressed his opinion. But briefly, how do you think about the problem between China and the Philippines?
We can just follow the news that the Philippine president just visit China, and also we see the new updating from the two governments, and also we see more, how to say, the future, the two sides want to do it in a bilateral way without any intervening from the out of influencer. So you can see the trend is very clear, so we can wait and see. And also the solution, let's back to our this event. The solution for the problem is that I think leaving in our hands the future generation in ASEAN, especially the young people. Yeah, my colleagues from London School Public PR, and also I see there's a table of young people here.
And you also as a young generation.
Yeah. So I come to Indonesia, and every day I just feel that, okay, I'm making friends here. Every day I am a window and a bridge of China, and we introduce what the economic events to Chinese mainland, And also at night, we dance with Indonesian young people, singing with Indonesian young people, and have fun here. So let's just establish our new friendship and make this new friendship to solve the problem in the developing journey of both sides. That's my point.
Thank you very much. We still have 3 minutes before finishing the discussion. And I would like to invite again the Excellency, the Ambassador of the Vietnam, to give such kind of the point briefly, and also the Director General to end our discussion today. Yes, your Ambassador, please.
Well, we see that, when we are talking about the situation in the South China Sea and the solutions, we need to see that, the South China Sea is very important. It is important for the countries in the region. It's important for countries outside the region. It is not only a regional security issue, but it is also a global security issue. If anything that happens in the South China Sea, that would affect not only the security in the region, but the global security as well. So as countries in the region, so I think that ASEAN needs to maintain peace and stability. That is very important. And when we are talking about solution, about settlement in the future, so we see that this is a long way forward to us. I share with the comments from our China colleagues that the future generations of ASEAN, the future generations of China need to think about that and work together for a long-term solution. So we see that in order to do that, it is very important to create trust and confidence, not only among the ASEAN countries, but between ASEAN countries and China. So without trust, we cannot go further. So I think that it is very important for us now to do that before we can think of the long-term solutions.
Okay, so the key point is that long-term solutions, trust and confidence. Okay. For the closing remark, please, Pak Dirjen.
Well, thank you very much, Pak. I also share that we have good relations. We have trade between bilaterally and as well as ASEAN and China is very good, which is mutual beneficial relations, investments as well, tourism and so on. So yeah, that's mutually beneficial relations. That's great that they continue to have it. At the meantime, we must also cannot ignore. I mean, there is a problem in front of us in the South China Sea. It's a big elephant in the room. I mean, you cannot just put aside. But you must address this issue. And if this kind of, my hope is that we are going to have a code of conduct that's going to govern the behavior and even will enhance our cooperation even further. Will boost the trade relations, the economic in every aspect. All of the aspects of relationship between ASEAN or bilaterally between ASEAN member states and China will be even further flourish. So that's my point. Thank you very much.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and the audience of the Voice of Indonesia, this is the end of our discussion of Diplomatic Forum today, discussing about the solution to the South China Sea issue. And well, we have already listened to the very distinguished speaker, Director General for ASEAN Cooperation at the Foreign Ministry, His Excellency Jose Tavares, and Vietnamese Ambassador to Indonesia, Excellency Hoang An Tuan, and our expert from Indonesian University, Professor Hikmahanto Juwana. And thank you for the audience who has already participated. Thank you very much. Till we meet again on the next Diplomatic Forum from the Voice of Indonesia and the World Service of Indonesia. Thank you very much.
You've just listened to Diplomatic Forum, jointly broadcast by RRI World Service, Voice of Indonesia, and Pro 1 RRI Jakarta.
Okay, thank you, Pak Kabul, for hosting such interesting dialogue, and we are hoping that the South China Sea conflict will soon find a solution. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our diplomatic forum, and now I would like to invite some of our guests to receive souvenirs from a diplomatic forum. First, I would like to invite Bapak Mistam, head of RRI Supervisory Board, to present a souvenir to His Excellency Dr. Huang An. Yes. Okay, once again, I would like to invite Bapak Mistam to present a souvenir from RRI to His Excellency Dr. Huang